You're tuned into The Collective Voice, thought-provoking interviews co-hosted by young adults, fostering deep faith through courageous questions. Welcome to the conversation. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the 787 podcast, Collective Voice. We are grateful to be here with you. It's St. Patrick's Day. We love a good St. Patrick's Day episode, even though this isn't coming out on St. Patrick's Day. So when you hear this, it's no longer St. Patrick's Day, but welcome to the past. Is that how this works? We truly, yeah, totally. That's Cece. Cece's here with me too, and Cece is going to introduce our guest today.
And if you don't know who that was speaking, that's Phil Dickey, host and congregational innovation person at Austin Seminary. Yeah, totally. I'm Cece, and I'm delighted to introduce my friend, Pastor Taylor Dieringer. She's the pastor at Faith Lutheran Congregation, ELCA, here in Austin. She's from Texas. I have lots of stories about her, and I want to try to embarrass her at the beginning of the podcast episode, but
there's plenty of time for that.
I will say, exactly. We'll see what comes up. Taylor sits in an interesting space for me personally because, truly one of my dearest friends and also the pastor of the congregation I'm now a member of. So
we got her.
She sees me walk in 3 minutes late the Sundays that we worship there. Unfortunately, has only ever been, or fortunately, I don't know, during the praise band Sunday. So,
is there some kind of theological quandary there that we need to dive into here, Cece? No? Okay, fair enough.
It's mostly just that my husband loves the organ, and we've never been to the church to hear anything but the worship band. That's amazing and wonderful. So.
And our organ, I've learned recently, because we just had an anniversary celebration, our organ is somewhat of a big deal. It's an Otto Hoffman organ that's really old and stuff. So you would think Cece and Mike would get the chance to come hear, this amazing organ, but they just haven't been yet. But
yeah. Clearly, we're the worst.
That's the blessing of not being in a congregational call is you're allowed to show up late and attend when you're able and all that stuff. Yeah,
which only happens to be on the second Sunday of the month, apparently at Faith.
That's right.
but yeah, Taylor, I just think is an incredible person, incredible pastor. And we're so excited to hear about her life, her faith, especially some transitions he's been to within the last decade. She's had a lot of changes. And that's one of the focuses of this podcast. So what I missed, Taylor, I know I missed a big thing in your life, right? That I'm definitely not going to bring up.
Wow. Inquiring minds want to know, but
I know. I feel so mysterious now.
Yeah.
She routinely calls herself to me God's favorite.
Amazing.
She happens to be a winner.
Really important to me. I do sort of occupy the 3 space on the Enneagram. So any achievements you can list off would be great for me to get started.
Sort of occupy the 3 space on the Enneagram?
Just a tad.
Wait, so you're a 3 and Cece's a 3? There's a lot of energy going on in here. My 9 self is just going to go.
Yeah, and Cece actually is just been in this year-long discernment of am I a 3? Am I a 1? Am I a 2? And have I done anything about it? No. So we just don't know. I'm not limiting myself at this point. But really to circle back to the introduction, did I miss anything, Taylor? Is there any better way that you'd like to share about who you are?
What else do you want to share beyond that?
Yeah. I'm a winner. That's all you need to know. Oh no. You know what? I am a child of God. That's what counts, and we'll just stick with that.
I feel like I've heard a song about that one time.
Yeah. On Praise Sunday? Was it?
Probably. It was probably on Praise Sunday. Yeah, absolutely. This episode brought to you by organ music. There we go. There you go, Cece.
Yeah.
What was it? Otto Hoffman?
Praise Sunday.
Yeah.
Seriously, Faith Lutheran people, if you're listening to this, heart for you.
She's doing heart hands. Yeah.
Love it.
Taylor, do you want to share a little bit about moving home? Georgetown is where you grew up. Your parents live there, and I know you're very close to your family.
Yeah.
You are now the only sibling that's
in Central Texas.
Right. Well, Brooks is in San Antonio-ish, right?
Yeah, it's true. I used to consider San Antonio South Texas, but it's kind of on the I-35 corridor now. We're all right here. Yeah.
But yeah, do you want to share a
So
little bit about that transition?
sure. Yeah, I, in church work, hopefully, lots of church employees are getting background checks out the wazoo, especially if you're going to be working with kids, which I've gotten the joy of doing in most of my ministry and career. And because I've lived out of state, I get to do like not just the local statewide background check, but the kind of FBI background check. And it requires you to list all the places you've lived in the last like 5 to 10 years. And I've gotten to do that a lot and realized that I have had 9 different permanent addresses in my 20s in the last 10 years. So I have done a lot of moving. None of it, some of it planned and intentional and expected, and a lot of it sort of not expected. And so I've kind of had this journey, in my 20s of a lot of uprooting. And I think I really came into, looking at the outset of my 20s, like I had a lot figured out and kind of could predict how things were going to go for me for the most part. And that turned out not to be super true. So I'm grateful. I've learned so much, and like I'd be okay if I didn't see a moving box again for a really, really long time, But I moved out of state for the first time when I went to grad school for seminary. And so I lived in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and attended United Lutheran Seminary. And while I was there, I met and married my ex-husband. And as you can tell, since that's how I'm referring to him now, we also got divorced in our 20s. And so I've just kind of had all kinds of transition with that. We had bought a house, there was a lot that I felt like, okay, like I am really investing in like the stability of my life, and putting down roots. I was not really looking to have, living up my 20s to me looked like settling down, finding home, like all these types of things. And as it turns out, I got to sort of learn the hard way that a lot of those measures of having, figured things out or gotten your life together or settling down or what have you, really are no match for the sense of peace and safety and at-homeness that you feel or don't feel, in your soul inside of you. And I feel like really, really privileged to have had lots and lots of people in my life who supported me throughout a lot of time of discernment with that. I had a lot of support to be able to honor that knowing in a way that not everyone gets the chance to. And so I was living in Pennsylvania a few years ago and finished out a couple years at my first call there as a pastor in a church. And then I did not move directly home. I actually first started a residency as a hospital chaplain, a student hospital chaplain, and lived with my sister while she finished up her graduate degree at the University of North Carolina. So I got to live in North Carolina for a year. It was a little bit of my, kind of Mary visiting Elizabeth season. It was sort of like a place to be apart and be with someone who is such a safe home for me and a balm for my soul. And this clinical pastoral education program that lots of people have, encountered gives you all kinds of good training for providing pastoral care and trauma-informed care and all these types of things. And a big part of that training is really like sifting through your own baggage. And I really felt like at this point that I had quite a bit to kind of come to understand a little bit better. So I do often describe that year as kind of an emotional wound debridement. You know, it was really painful and like never fun, but a really important piece of healing. And so, to keep making this short story long, I did discern during that time in hospital chaplaincy that I really missed congregational ministry and continued to feel really called to congregational ministry. And so I started the call process, and it's a little bit like a season of The Bachelor, The Bachelorette. You know, you kind of have like it's like one candidate, many church options, right? So at a certain point, you have to make it exclusive with one person, but you kind of start out interviewing with multiple people.
Are there roses involved in this too?
That's why the ordination stole is red, actually.
Oh, got it. Thank you. That's good.
Yeah. When you make your decision, you just text the bishop a rose emoji. Understood.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so through this just kind of incredible movement of the Holy Spirit between kind of the different entities that I was in conversation with, all at one time, and a little bit through a drunk uncle, there became this time where I realized, nope, it is time for me to go home. It is time for me to come to Austin. And Faith Lutheran, had offered me sort of their exclusive rose, if you will. And so I decided to take that and kind of continue only in the interview process with them. And so ended up here, and it's just been really lovely. I've really, people are people wherever you go, and you can find your family wherever you land and make a place your home. And this place is my home, and I've really felt that sense of place, that sense of kind of landedness. Even when I was away, Texas has a real penchant for making the news, as far as our, legislative agenda around human rights goes. And even when I was living out of state and watching some of these things unfold from afar, I really sort of felt like, that feels like my fight. That feels like my place, to be. And it's kind of a strange thing to like, oh, this state is now even less hospitable to me, as a person, as a woman. And yet somehow I feel called to like be there, be part of, how we do community, how we take care of the people of Texas, like all of that kind of stuff. And so that felt like a really telling sort of wake up call for me, that this is my home, and I feel a different kind of sense of ownership here. And now I'm, close enough to visit my parents, my grandmother, my cousins, my aunt and uncle. I've got a lot of family nearby, and it's just been so life-giving to be around and, be at funerals and have people say, now, Dieringer, are you related to Louise Dieringer? And have these kinds of like connections. And so that's very different than where I started ministry, where I was, just in another state, but it did often feel sort of like, being in a foreign land or totally a fish out of water. And so it's been kind of cool to integrate different pieces of myself a little bit differently, being back here.
Thanks so much for sharing all that, and the vulnerability and willingness to just dive in and tell that story. I mean, I love the piece on feeling like this was your work to do to come home to. I mean, the first time I met you was on the steps of the Capitol, right? At the
That's
Texas
true.
Capitol in Austin, for a Texas Impact event, right? We were there gathered. And so I love that piece of that story. I'm going to play off of your threeness here a little bit.
Sure.
Not about success. I'm going to ask you, having told that story, like, how do you feel telling that story? Like that's a lot. Like you've lived a lot of life in your 20s, How do you feel sharing that story?
Another component of what's come on board for me in my 20s is that I've spent a lot of time kind of understanding and navigating, living with more mental health challenges than I thought I would have as a kid. And I'm lucky to have a very like livable, functional situation. But like as happy as I am, as smiley as I am, depression is something that I live with and, figure out and have lots of support systems for. And at some point in my 20s, I got really comfortable with being sad and like despairing and, I think felt, sometimes as an Enneagram 3, there's, though I can project a lot of pieces of myself to connect most with the people I'm with in any given situation, a lot of times my primary concern or question is about authenticity. And I really long to be my authentic self and connect with people in that kind of authentic way. And I think especially because I kind of had this sort of like Disney princess image of me painted a lot as a kid, it sort of felt like as I kind of emerged into adulthood, like feeling sadness, feeling despair, like having these kind of vulnerable pieces of my story, like that was the real thing, and even when it came to understanding love and marriage, right? I heard it when everyone told me, love is not a fairy tale, Taylor. Don't expect someone to come in and sweep you off your feet and things to be just like happy go lucky. It's not like in the movies. It's not like that. Love is hard. Marriage is hard. These kinds of things. And, I started to think, okay, when it's hard, that means this is real love, right? Okay, when I'm in pain, that means this is true love, right? Just sort of a wonky metric to sort of associate things with. I turned 30 last summer. And I would say in the last couple of years, what I've really come to understand about myself is that actually the most vulnerable thing for me, or the riskiest thing for me to share with people around me, and especially publicly, is my places of deep joy. Because it sort of feels like, okay, if I open up about what's really hard for me, if I open up about like where it hurts most, it's only up from here. Maybe at worst case scenario, you join me here in the depths and we kind of stay there for a little bit. I was already there. That's fine. Maybe you offer me some comfort. Maybe we kind of connect with each other and end up kind of uplifting. Great. If I share my deepest joy, that's so vulnerable because you could poke some holes in it or knock me down a few notches or say, you seem a little optimistic there, And so when you ask Phil, like, how does it feel to kind of open up about the pain points? I think for one, it feels like so clear to me how much I've learned and grown from those times. And also in a roundabout way, I've sort of gotten to a place where it feels like that's actually maybe the easier thing to get into. And I'm really excited and terrified to be learning about what healing looks like when joy is at the center. And for that matter, what justice looks like when joy is at the center. It's very different.
There's a song I love. Well, first I'll say thank you, Taylor.
Oh, you say, yeah.
I appreciate you so much. And your vulnerability here has just been, it's been received with humbleness, I'd say, on my part, and grace. There's a song I love that we sang at my home congregation, and it's a part of our tradition that ends with, and God will rejoice when we are creators of justice and joy.
Yes.
And it's just a song that I love. For everyone born, a place at the table, that's how it starts.
Yeah.
And like it's intrinsically tied to justice and tied to joy. And because I know you personally, it's been so fun on these podcasts. I've had a lot of friends.
Yeah.
And I get to because I know them, like dig in or push back. And I know you are wondering, like, what does joy look like for you now? Right. And I had a conversation with a young adult last week where she was like, how can I have joy in a world that's just so awful? right? When schools in Iran are being bombed, when children are not going to school across the
Mhm.
country, and immigrants are not going to the doctor because they're in fear of being detained. How can I have joy? Like, I can't because of the
Mhm.
suffering. And I remember in a conversation with you, I don't know, on the way to the beach for a
Probably.
retreat, like over coffee. I don't know what it was, where you said, like, we have to have joy, actually. Like, joy is resistance. And that comes from some work that you've done around liberation theology, Black theology, anti racist work. Um, so, my question is, what does deep joy look like for you right now? And why
Mm.
is that a liberative process? And how is that tied to justice? And that's not just one question, it's three. So, good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, as you alluded to, I am sort of figuring out in this new chapter of my life where, like, okay, I'm not like drowning in kids the way I thought I might be when I turned 30, right? Like, I'm not, all these things. It's sort of like, oh, my job right now is to take care of me. And I have a lot of other jobs too, but um I have some question marks around what it looks like to nurture myself and nurture my joy. One thing I do know that's deeply connected to joy for me is dance. And I'm really lucky to be able to say that because I was like a competitive studio dancer for the first 18 years of my life, 16 years of my life. Um, and for a lot of people that can kind of strip all the joy out of it because it becomes so pressure intense, but thankfully it is still like a deep love for me. um and I have told the story before that at one point at one of these like competitive dance conventions with like a big deal teacher kind of teaching us this combination you have to learn super super fast and like try to impress everybody so you might get like attention from someone who could has made it, blah blah blah. There's just this like hotel ballroom full of teenagers in like leotards and tights. And uh, for me, and my sister was there too, we had just lost our first grandparent. Like, it was our first real experience of grief. I was, I think, 16, 15 maybe. And so I was in kind of a confused, sad space already. But the pressure in the room was really palpable. And the teacher stopped us, ballerinas, and said, "All right, y'all are too much, right? Like, you're way too high strung. We need to let it go a little bit." And he said, "I'm going to need you to give me a little shimmy." And we're all like, "Okay, is that like, do you start in second position and then like, we're trying?" No, he's like, "No, literally, just start with one shoulder, like
How
just a
does one
little."
shimmy,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Does that start on the 5 or the 6? No, just seriously, just one shoulder. Give me a little shimmy, and it was enough to kind of break the room up into some giggling and laughter and just kind of taking things a little lighter, right? And I often think of the story of Miriam after the Exodus through the Red Sea. The like, Moses, her brother Moses has like led all these people and the sea opens up. They walk through the walls of water, it crashes down. And like the first thing that happens is Miriam pulls out a tambourine and everyone starts dancing, and this is like a great story. It's like, a good movie montage. And like, it's really backed up by a lot of neurobiological research that like, if we don't close the burnout loop, if we don't close the stress cycle, it lives in our bodies and comes out often sideways. And so sometimes things like dance and connecting with people and joy, like, really is survival. And I can't, I mean, like, womanist theologians have been naming this in like such amazing ways for a long, long time. Beloved by Toni Morrison has this like like the sacred space in that story is this like plane where people come and are just connecting in such embodied ways, and like things are terrible, right? This is like early days, post Civil War. Emancipation is brand new for people, and life is really not good. I think there's so many of us who have grown up in relative privilege who really associate like happiness and joy with blessings that are sort of obvious. Like we are happy at a wedding when there's something happy happening, and we're all dancing because something good just happened. Prom, homecoming, whatever, right? Like these types of things. And for most of the world, for most of humanity, joy is like a birthright and a survival mechanism, and a way to, it's something no one can take away from you. And so when we need to resist those, when we need to do justice, when we need to resist the structures that are stripping away civil rights, human rights, all these things that are really important, tangible parts of living a life of dignity and the kind of abundant life that God intends for all of us. When we are moving out of this conviction that I am a beloved child of God, or I am a beloved member of the human family, and I am a person of deep joy, I am a person of deep love, that is very different than moving out a place of despair. We're at the bottom of the pit and we're scratching our way out. There's a little bit of a pity that comes with that mentality. Like, oh, we need to like help get these people who've been thrown into a pit and drag them out of here, and however we work towards justice, great. And it's not as though all of these movers and shakers are like showing up every day, like feeling great. But this kind of joy can really sustain us. I mean, for me, it is a survival mechanism to continue doing like the hard work of loving our neighbor, which shows up in all different kinds of ways. So, I think that's, I'm not sure if I remember every one of your questions, Cece, but that's how I'm kind of connecting like justice and joy and healing and all of these things. Because really, there is so much outside of our control, and there always will be. And that is one of the biggest pain points of just being a human. Most of the times I'm really, really, really glad that I'm not God. And sometimes it feels like I really wish I had more control over what's around me.
Desiring more control is so relatable. And also being relieved to not be God, very relatable.
Yeah, right. Like, so, these, like our joy, our delight, our belovedness, like there is no one can legislate that away. No one can bomb that away. These things like stay with us no matter what. And we can always access that. Sometimes we need a lot of support to get there, but those are inherent in our created beings.
You talked about dance and loving dance. I just recently realized that there's an ecstatic dance group in Dallas that meets every Sunday, and I'm like, well, I have not gone yet.
Out, Phil.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming because I also love dance, and I think that the world would be a happier place if we just dance more often. Because, like you said, like weddings, right? Like we go to weddings and like people just cut it up on the dance floor and have such a great time. Like, why don't we do this more often, right? Like this is so amazing. Practically speaking, are you finding ways to inhabit that and like embody dance like in a regular way? Is that a spiritual practice or just something that you do on a regular basis to embody that joy?
No, Phil, I am not. I am so honest with you. Now, a big piece of that right now is that, as I mentioned, I turned 30 last summer. And I remember people said, when you turn 30, your body starts breaking down. And I thought that was just like a general, like kind of Yeah, no, they meant like the day you turn 30. No, so anyways, I've been having some issues with my feet that I'm working out. I'm like, do PT every night. This is my life now, right? And so I
ballet,
am
yeah.
right now I need to stay off my feet as much as possible, which is really challenging for me. But I recently spent a few days with my sister in North Carolina, and I don't know if it was just because I was there staying in her home with her, or if this is her norm anyways, but I really noticed it was remarkable to me that like every morning, every time we were preparing a meal, all the downtime, she had like really good music playing just in the background of life. And I gotta say, I personally do not spend a whole lot of time in silence. I'm often like listening to a podcast or an audiobook or, watching TV, like if there's downtime kind of filling that space. And that sometimes that's okay. And that is what I need. But that is something that I'm sort of like actively working on. Like, can I build into my daily routine, like playing music that you can't help but move to? Because I don't have to be going to like a dance exercise class or like a Latin dance night or like something like that to be just, moving to the beat. So something I'm working on integrating more into my everyday life and like spiritual practice, because it is important to me and life-giving to me, and also not something I'm putting a lot of time and energy into right now.
Bust out that tambourine, right?
That's right.
Everybody, make it happen.
I'm so curious. I know God willing, like TSA, everything goes all right. Seeing your sister, this one, I believe, this weekend.
Yes.
And so I'll have to ask her, like, what are her favorite songs? What makes her move? Phil and I had this interesting. Phil, I and our boss Melissa had a conversation yesterday. I was really planning an event in April and working with a creative consulting group to do like pre-work to set the tone for it. And one of the things that they include, like a letter from like thanking people, like a creative thing to do, like literally like seaming on fabric, a design. But they also include a playlist. And so we had an example that
Cece lit
Melissa
up so
brought.
much when she realized this.
I
She was like,
know.
a playlist? This
I
is
was like, a
amazing.
playlist. And our boss Melissa's like, she's like, well, I'm a boomer, so like I'm not doing with that. Like I would just want, my favorite artist is Elvis. And so I like quickly Google search like Elvis and Hope, and a song came up. And so like that's gonna go on our playlist for sure.
Oh, for sure.
And then like you are a person that when you moved back to Austin, your first Advent, you sent me a playlist. And I don't know if you curated it or a friend curated it, but it was like Advent. And it was all secular songs. And then I have saved on my Spotify like playlist list, your playlist, worship music.
Yes.
That's like
the quotation marks are important.
Yes, quotation mark worship. I forget. Like I see myself on this screen, but I know people are just listening into it. Apologies, listening homies. But and you've wondered like how do you incorporate that into like a true worship service? I know at Faith right now, y'all are doing, oh God, what's it called?
Yeah, we're using some resources
Sanctified
from
Art.
a Sanctified Art, which is incredible if you haven't checked it out. Yeah.
So good. So good.
And in the parish, I loved adding in poetry into our readings, and I still get my former congregation's like Sunday worship letter, and they still are adding like poetry into their services. And so I'm just like warm and fuzzy that like maybe that stuck with them. But yeah, like tell me, Taylor, I know you're a dreamer. That's one of the things that I love about you. And you and I have so many conversations about like future of the church, right? And our dreams, God's dreams, are like the people we serve's dreams. If you were dreaming about the future of the church with joy, with music, with justice, what's a dream you have? Whether that's in a service, in connection, in community, whatever.
Yeah. I think part of why I like sort of collecting songs like this that show up outside of worship life that kind of feel worshipful to me or theologically aligned with, stuff that I know comes up throughout the church year is, well, in part because I can't turn my dumb little brain off, but also because it's like, I think for the church to feel relevant to a lot of people, or maybe feel relevant to more people than it does right now, we gotta have some more touchstones with stuff, whether it's art, music, etc., that happens outside of Sunday mornings, outside of the worship space, outside of the church building. So I dream about lots of different ways to do that. And I think music is always a great way to be a part of that. I dream about a church that is a place of deep belonging and maybe like great resourcing, and that we think of the church resourcing as like a true sharing of gifts among an inclusive group of people that all has different needs and different gifts. A lot of times in my experience, the church feels like we have money and we're going to give it to the poor who does not. Or, we have the teachings of the faith and we're going to give it to the people who don't know them yet. Just these kinds of things. And some of my grief is with those who get to a point in their lives where maybe their wisdom continues to, shine and radiate and feel really strong, but their bodies are starting to break down. They need more rest and they cannot show up and do the things they once did. And it's been so long, it's been so many decades where their worth, their sense of being a good Christian, their sense of like being part of a community has really just relied on like providing, whether that is like giving financially, cooking the meals for the funerals, working the food pantry, running altar guild, all these different things that are good parts of the life of the church. And then they feel so worthless and so such a burden to need anything, right? To need the pastor to bring communion to their home, to need a ride to church, and that a lot of times they never even ask. And so my hope is that we would learn much younger, much sooner, that we all need and provide, like always. We're always needy and we're always powerful, right? We always have something to share and we always have something we need. And so there's a lot of different structural ways to do that. Some of it looks a lot like the church looks right now. I think there's some different kind of structural setups to do church that are a little less traditional, but kind of like shifting a little bit more into that kind of a mentality and the way that we set things up.
It makes me think in our rural church work that we do, we talk about, we have a whole gratitude practice and a gratitude curriculum and gratitude pathway. But one of the things we talk about is a shape of gratitude, and it's circular, right? And that there's a giving and a receiving that takes place in the midst of it. And we've talked a lot about Enneagram. The Enneagram master that I worked with talked a lot about like, what is yours to do? Like that's what she harps on a lot. Like, what is yours to do? What is yours to do? Especially in this season. What I've kind of adapted that to lately is what is your gift to give uniquely, both in this season, but just specifically, like what is Taylor's gift and fill in the blank, right? Whether that's to your worshiping community, whether that's to the greater city of Austin, whether that's to Texas, right? Like you talked about moving home, or just in general, the world right now. What is Taylor's unique gift to give to the world right now?
Oh man, Phil, I'm like really trying to answer that question for myself. but
look, that's a lifelong question, right?
A lifelong question, yeah.
And it's also a question for this moment, right? Because I think it's the gift that you have to give uniquely right now may not be the same gift that you have to give in 6 months.
Yeah. I think in this moment, the gift I have to share with those around me is a sense of connectedness to the God who dwells within. Not in a holier than thou way, but just in a like, I maybe unexpectedly am in a season of life where I have a lot of spaciousness to like pour into myself and kind of look within and spend some time just sort of dwelling. And that's hard for me to say as an Enneagram 3 because that's really not measurable. It's really not achievable. It's just a being kind of thing, and it's really, really hard for me. But I think this is at the same time, the gift I have right now. So we'll start with that. How about
Thanks, Taylor. One of the things we've been asking this time period as we record podcasts, knowing that we are in the liturgical season of Lent, knowing that you are a parish pastor, so like
you almost had a little bit of an Irish accent on that too. It was like a little leprechaun-esque, given that it's St. Patrick's Day.
I am part Irish, believe it or not.
There we go. There it is. All right.
Like many, the family came over sometime during a potato famine. Anyways, but yeah, like we're getting closer to the sprint towards Holy Week, and we'll name here and try to remember to name again. Like, let me know what you need help with, girl. Like the sprint towards Holy Week's big, as your friend. And but too, like we're not there yet. We are in the Lenten season. So I wonder if you could share briefly, like, what does Lent mean to you? What does that look like? And then are there any Lenten practices that you've been doing that might be impacting your life of faith? I know that this is also a hard question to ask to faith leaders because like you are adding a Wednesday night service. I have the faith devotional thing that you printed out, right? Like y'all are doing the, what is it, LWR, like relief kits or personal grooming kits, right? Like it's a season in the church where things get added to the church's plate, which makes it hard sometimes to have the spaciousness, right, for the discipline. But yeah, we'd love to, as a time period, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Sure. Yeah, I certainly say to other people, as a faith leader, that as you think about a Lenten discipline, focus on what's going to sort of bring you closer to God or bring you closer to yourself, and that may be subtractive, giving up meat for Lent or, whatever, giving up social media, something like that. I also offer, that a lot of times, it may be something additive that you need to like add something into your practice that will bring you closer to God. So what I have landed on for myself, which I didn't know at the beginning of Lent, it didn't start until a few days in, is that I have started and continued and is kind of committed to a 30-day yoga journey with YouTube sensation Yoga with Adrienne. She has some incredible, she's several series. She's one per year and has been a prolific YouTube yoga for a long time. And she's based out of Austin. So shout out to the 512. But it's like a 30-day yoga journey that has like kind of a thematic arc and also like the movement arcs, through the time. There's like rest days built into it and like things like that are part of the journey. And that have been lifesavers for me in the past when I'm just like totally untethered. This like kind of tethers me back to myself. So Lent is 40 days, as you know, plus Sundays. This is a 30-day yoga journey. So I figure this is a discipline that is going to include grace for me because there's at least 10 days of grace for, skipping or whatever. So that's how I've been starting my days this Lent, has been, I'll have like a little piece of fruit or like a little probiotic drink to get something in me. And then I'll just blink my eyes open mostly and like sit on the yoga mat and like follow as much as I can for those 20 or 30 minutes. So that's been, sometimes the whole time I'm just like, I just don't want to be doing this. But always at the end, I'm like, man, I'm glad I did that. So that's been my Lenten thing this year.
That's a great Lenten thing. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like there's been a whole kind of, well, there's been a couple things, but one of them is embodiment, right? Like the way that our bodies play in the midst of this, and I'm just grateful for that. I'm going to close us with this final question on music again. If
Sure.
there was I was going to say song, but sometimes it's hard to pick one. So if there was a soundtrack to your life right now, what are one or two, maybe three songs that feel like are your soundtrack?
Okay. I don't know what the name of the song is, and I don't know what most of the lyrics mean, but there's this like real, like exciting song. And the chorus goes like, ah, pata pate, ah, pata pate, ah, pata pate. That is like, yes. That one is kind of when I'm like,
Mike would know it because he said that. Like, he's like, you know that song? And he like pronounces the name. And I'm like, no, I don't know that song. And he's like, yeah, with that group, and like says the name of the group. And then I'm like, no, I don't. And then he plays it.
It's Rosé and Bruno Mars. Apate. Yeah, totally.
Yes. And it's so good. It just gets me like, it's something that if I'm like kind of flooded with anxiety or worry or overthinking or whatever, like I can just like go so hard to that song. So that's a great one. So Brandi Carlile has a new album out called Returning to Myself. Oh my God. I don't know who gave her the right. It's so good and so just real. So most of that album, especially Returning to Myself and Human, those songs get
that Returning to Myself song, like just every time. It's on my favorites right now. It's so good.
It's such a lonely thing to do, but it's the only thing to do. I was like, oh yeah. And you know what? I will throw in, I mean, the Oscars were just a couple days ago, and the winning original song of the year, Golden, from K-pop Demon Hunters. Phil, I'm sure you've gotten that on repeat. Yeah. Man, I'm a fan. I had one of my very best friends, other than Cece, bullied me for weeks on end, texting me once a week. Have you watched K-pop Demon Hunters yet? Have you watched K-pop Demon Hunters yet? And I was like, this is like, I don't, I was resistant until I finally gave in. And I was like, how have I waited this long to watch this movie? It's great. It's worth the hype.
I mean, that and Sinners was like two of the best theological movies that I've seen in a long time.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad they got their flowers.
I'm also glad they got their flowers. And if we talk about Sinners with Taylor, we're going to go on for another
Cece's
45 minutes.
Like, next episode we'll just talk movies. Okay. Yeah.
I love you so much, Taylor.
I'm bullying everyone I know until they watch Sinners, as Cece's well aware. So.
My buddy
as someone who's been bullied and has watched Sinners because of Taylor.
It's so good. No, my buddy Derek was like, if you are a friend of mine, you will have watched this. If not, then we don't need to talk anymore. I was like, wow, buddy. Okay.
She wasn't quite as direct, which I appreciate, but I did end up watching it and had to, because I'm not a horror person, like skip through all of the horror and still deeply appreciate that movie.
So good.
Taylor, my God.
Also, one of the greatest dance scenes in a movie is from Sinners.
Yes.
Like, such an incredible dance. Anyway, sorry, go ahead, Cece.
No, and like what an interesting thing to bring into like at the end of our conversation on St. Patrick's Day, right? With the little bit of Irishness that's in it, with the like post enslavement, like Jim Crow, like truly a really complex and complicated movie. And who does not stan Michael B. Jordan, right? Like
the only thing better than one Michael B. Jordan in a movie is two Michael B. Jordans in a movie.
Straight dreamy.
And that's literally one of the ways Taylor bullied me into watching Sinners, believe it or not.
If you're just listening, hearts just appeared on Taylor's screen, which we didn't even know could do, so amazing.
This episode has purely been brought to you by Taylor bullying. And
that's what I hope my legacy will be.
Bullying with hearts. There it was.
I'll make sure to have it on your tombstone.
Thank you, Susie.
when we die in old age together, God willing.
Yes.
Do that,
Yes.
Jesus.
Can I just say thank you for bringing joy today? I just what a
Yeah.
gift! Like this has been a gift
Yeah.
to me and to us, and so really grateful for all you do and put out in the world.
Yeah, and if
Thank you.
you're in the Austin area and you're looking for a congregation that is to find Taylor at and to see what's up in the lives of Faith Lutheran, it's in Crestview on Woodrow Avenue, along with all of the other churches in Crestview, it seems. That's one way that you can find her.
There's a new barbecue place down the street that just named itself Church Row Barbecue because there's so many churches on our street. But
That's
yeah,
amazing.
all are welcome anytime. We really mean it. And you're happy to drop in and say, I heard you on a podcast and I'm only coming here once ever. And I'll be like, it's so great to see you. But yeah, come check us out anytime. CC might be there if it's the second Sunday of the month.
We will come some other time, I promise. Shout out, Praise Band. We already miss you, drama guy. I don't remember your name.
Oh. Okay, there it is. Yep. Well, okay, more than just your doing, I'm going to say this too. Thank you for your being, and you're inviting us to be and touch into the authenticity and the feeling part of it. And I'm just really grateful for that too. Like, shout out to everybody who's struggling with all the doing things because it feels like there's so much to be done in the world. And just a reminder that, you know, we get to just be as well. Like you said, right? Beloved child of God.
You know, I had a teacher in my hospital chaplaincy residency who said, we are human beings, not human doings. And for those of us who believe we're made in the image of God, that's why God's name is I Am.
Beautiful.
And that has really stuck with me.
I feel like we just say amen.
Amen.
Thank you
for this time. Yeah, I really appreciate
Thank
y'all.
you for your vulnerability. Yeah.
You bet. You bet. All right. Have a great one.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Collective Voice, the premier podcast of the 787 Collective. For more information, visit us at 787collective.org or find us on social media. And if you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to subscribe, rate us, and share a review. For when you do, you are tricking the algorithm for the common good.